his whole life, like even up through like in the first hour, and then all of a sudden he turns it on. I just came out of nowhere.
The fact that I don't have to shave, that's like the worst thing on earth.
Yeah.
So I didn't do it. I don't do it on vacation. And so I'm like, I kind of like it. Yeah. All right. Are we live here? Mr. Merritt, are we live?
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Yes, sir, we are.
right.
We got a couple of very last-minute audience participation, so we're trying to get that stacked together for you. So my court announcements may take just a moment.
Okay, no problem.
Sure.
All right, well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Tuesday, June 18th, 2024 Tarrant County Commissioners Court meeting. I will now call the meeting to order.
Tim O'Hare, County Judge.
Present.
Roy Charles Brooks, Commissioner Precinct 1.
Present.
Elisa Simmons, Commissioner Precinct 2.
Here.
Gary Figgis, Commissioner Precinct 3.
Here.
Emmanuel Ramirez, Commissioner Precinct 4.
Here.
Constitutes a quorum.
Thank you very much. Today's invocation will be led by John Salveson, the senior pastor of Bear Creek Bible Church in Keller. Please rise for the invocation and pledges. Thank you for being here, Pastor.
Good morning, everyone. Let's pray together. Our gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for your being faithful and kind and good, and you are the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. You are the triune God, so we invoke you. Father, we pray and thank you that our founders recognized you and saw that our basic rights came from you and not a king or a potentate. We pray, Father, and thank you for all levels of government in our country. Pray for our president, our Congress, our courts, our governor, our state legislature. We also pray for your servants here today. And so we pray, Father, that you would give them knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. We pray, Father, that the law would be applied fairly. We pray that you would bless these men and women for their service, and we thank you for them. We thank you for this great land. We pray this all in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now to the Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. You may be seated. we positive K-12 and 8, oh, consent, okay.
Yeah, they were both on consent.
A9, so we're still going to speak on them, and we're still
Correct.
going to address them?
Correct. We're just
K9
taking
and what?
K-12 and K-18.
Oh, K-18 and K-12.
We're still considering them. They're just pulled from consent.
Okay, and then N1 is off until another meeting. No,
N1?
N3, N3.
N3 is being held till after closed.
Oh, gotcha. What did I miss? So N3 held until after closed.
Correct.
A9, K12, and K18 pulled from consent and going to regular.
Correct. And D5 is being held till a later meeting.
Gotcha, D5, okay. Okay, anything else?
No, sir. Thank you. We'll get you that travel update as soon as it's printed. Thank y'all.
Okay, good. All right, thanks, sir. Next up is our proclamations, no, it's Commissioners' Court announcements. Do we have any announcements from the Commissioners?
I would just like to say in advance, happy Juneteenth to everybody, and thanks to all of the municipalities and organizations that have invited me and had me at their Juneteenth celebrations, particularly over in the city of Grand Prairie, their parade over the weekend, and picnic, and in Arlington, the Arlington Black Chamber of Commerce. And so, happy Juneteenth.
All right, anything else from the Commissioners' Court? All right, seeing none, we'll move to the proclamations, resolutions, and presentations section. Our first proclamation is to recognize Elder Abuse Awareness Month. With us today are Nisa Mohammed from the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services, Tacey Thornton, Program Administrator, and Delisha King, Supervisor with Adult Protective Services. Allow me to read this proclamation for Elder Abuse Awareness Month. The elder population of Tarrant County is a vital and cherished segment of our community, deserving of our respect, care, and protection. The month of June is acknowledged as Elder Abuse Awareness Month, and its recognition fosters the prevention of abuse and neglect of older adults. There were 120,069 reports of abuse towards older adults and people with disabilities in Texas in 2023. Tarrant County seniors deserve to live safely with dignity and as independently as possible with the support they need. Eliminating abuse to older persons is the responsibility of each community, and Tarrant County is concerned about the risk to our older residents who suffer from neglect or are victims of financial, emotional, or physical abuse. Raising awareness about elder abuse is essential to recognizing the signs, understanding the impact, and taking action to prevent and address this very serious issue. During Elder Abuse Awareness Month, and always, we stand united in our commitment to ensure the safety and security of older adults, support victims of elder abuse, and hold abusers accountable. Now therefore be it resolved that we, the Commissioners Court of Tarrant County, do hereby proclaim June 2024 as Elder Abuse Awareness Month. And I'll move that we adopt this proclamation.
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? All right, please cast your vote. I just learned something. How about that? Okay.
Learning something is good.
I see how I can tell when you've all voted. Never knew that before. It only took a year and a half to figure it out. All right. Okay, passes unanimously, and I'll come down there and present that to you, and then somebody can say a few words when you'd like, all right?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Lisa Muhammad with Adult Protective Services Community Engagement. I have with me our Program Administrator, Amanda Sutherland, as well as our community partners, Lynn Scott and Lindsay Stanley with Guardianship Services, Inc. We want to thank the commissioners as well as Judge O'Hare on behalf of Adult Protective Services and Guardianship Services, Inc. for proclaiming June as Elder Abuse Awareness Month in Tarrant County. Adult Protective Services is a state agency, and we investigate abuse, neglect, and financial exploitation of the elderly and those who are substantially impaired. We not only investigate, but we like to provide intervention as well as resources to prevent further maltreatment. The U.S. Census Bureau has declared that 2034 will be the year that citizens 65 years or older will be the largest demographic in our population. This shift in the demographic is going to strongly impact our families and our communities. Older adults are vital, contributing members of our society, and everyone deserves the right to live with dignity and respect. National research has shown that 1 in every 10 abuse cases each year are reported, only 1 in 10, and 24 known or suspected are not even reported. In Tarrant County, just last year, fiscal year 2023, 8,203 investigations were conducted. In this county, we have 7 units. One is specifically geared towards exploitation. We have an exploitation task force, and we work very closely with Guardianship Services, Inc. in order to make sure that the seniors in this community do not fall victim to exploitation. We have 5 other units that specifically focus on abuse and neglect. In those units, it's about 6 to 7 members in each of those units. So for all of those 8,000 investigations, you have about 40 people trying to make sure that our seniors and disabled population are safe. In a society that values the just treatment of all people, Elder Abuse Awareness Month reminds us that elder abuse has implications for all of us, so it's important that we work together for these solutions. It is imperative that we continue to raise awareness so we can take steps to prevent this in our communities. On behalf of our program, as well as Guardianship Services, Inc., I want to thank our community partners, because without partners, we cannot protect our seniors. Our first responders, local judicial partners, local government, and of course, the county commissioners and the Judge O'Hare, as you help us to carry out our mission for Adult Protective Services, as well as for Guardianship Services, Inc. Finally, we have handouts for everyone or anyone who would like them. There is a 1-800 number for you to call if you suspect that any elder person is being abused, neglected, or financially exploited. Please contact us. Our agency is here to help. We wear purple for the month of June to signify elder abuse awareness, but to also promote prevention. So thank you all so much.
What's that phone number?
It's 1-800-252-5400. And we do have handouts. Amanda and I will be giving them out, and it has the number on both sides.
Well, thank you, ladies. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you so much.
All right, next up, we have a resolution acknowledging Tarrant County Home Ownership Month. With us today are Michelle Kennedy, the Senior Director of Advocacy and Government Relations for Habitat for Humanity. And this resolution reads as follows. Homeownership is a cornerstone of the American dream, and the month of June is recognized as National Homeownership Month. Homeownership strengthens our communities, improves educational outcomes, and enhances neighborhood stability. Home Ownership Month recognizes the critical role that homeownership plays in providing financial security and building generational wealth for Americans. The home building and real estate industries contribute significantly to our nation's economic growth, providing jobs, supporting local businesses, and stimulating economic activity. Home ownership represents a pathway to prosperity and helps families who have saved and sacrificed achieve their dream of owning a home. Tarrant County is committed to ensuring that the dream of home ownership is a reality for all who persevere to achieve this milestone. Now therefore be it resolved that we, the Commissioners Court of Tarrant County, do hereby recognize the month of June 2024 as Home Ownership Month in Tarrant County. And I will move that we adopt this resolution.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, please cast your vote. All right, it passes unanimously. Come down there, present this to y'all.
Judge, if you could stay here for just 1 moment.
Sure. Am I getting a check?
Yeah, you are getting checked. Judge, Commissioners, thanks for having us. Thanks for recognizing Home Ownership Month. It is a pathway to prosperity, is exactly what you just read. I couldn't agree more. My name's Gage Yeager. I'm the CEO for Trinity Habitat for Humanity. It's my 28th year doing this, so I appreciated working with you guys on the court and you, Judge, and your predecessors to do what we do. So we built 1,000 homes in our tenure. This is our 35th year, 829 of which are in Tarrant County. And it's home ownership month, right? There's a difference between home ownership versus rental. And Trinity Habitat focuses all on home ownership. It's what that does for the families, for the community, for the school. It's that piece of the American dream that is slipping out of reach, right? Inflation's going crazy for everybody, and so the average working essential family cannot achieve home ownership anymore. The average price in Tarrant County is $340,000. That takes $116,000 income to afford that price. People don't make that much money. That's well above the median income. So Habitat's about a hand up, not a handout. Giveaway programs tend to not work when you're trying to transform. It's the old fishing, you know, buy a fishing pole, teach them to fish, versus having to buy the fish the whole time. That's home ownership. It is that piece of the American dream. They work hard. But also when you support and work with you guys that I appreciate so much, there's an ROI. There's a return on the investment, right? And so last year our families in their property taxes, I'm not sure how to first show this and show this way. They paid 2023 taxes $1.76 million back, right? So working and partnering with us is more than just giving away money. It's a partnership for hardworking families achieving the American dream, and it comes back, right? We need to pay our taxes. That's how we get our city and county services. And you guys want to come down here? It's about all of us.
Coming down.
Yes, please. Please. This is a family affair. It takes all of us to do it. We can have Commissioner Brooks come up here. Thank you, Bridget. All right. The check's right side up, right? Yes. Yeah. Just like me to do it upside down. All right, guys.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Yes, sir. Appreciate your all service.
Okay, that brings us to a certificate of congratulations regarding the Fort Worth VitalLink Summer Internship Program and its participants. Commissioner Brooks.
Every year for the past at least 10, maybe more years, the Fort Worth ISD has sponsored the VitalLink Summer Internship Program. And our friends and partners at Linebarger, Goggin, Blair, and Sampson have made sure that the children participating in that program have a county government experience. So we host these kids once a year here in Tarrant County Commissioners Court, and they will spend the rest of the day with various county departments, getting a tour around, getting to see what real work in public service looks like, getting a glimpse of how the sausage is made. This is a valuable experience because kids need to know that public service is a viable career. You can do well in public service. You can support your family. You can send kids to college. And you can do good in public service. You can help others in our community who need a hand. So welcome to this year's crop of Vital Link students. And I have a certificate and a Tarrant County pin for each one of you. Would you help me out? And thank you to Jordan Stimson for being the kid wrangler. Is Daphne Bennett here?
I'll take her.
And her pen. How about Marcus Sign? Marcus. All right. Dylan Gonzalez. Dylan, congratulations. Gabriel Longhill.
Mark, do we need a motion?
Liliana Ariano. Madison Houston. Wendy Macias. Hello, Wendy. So one of mine. And last but not least, Kadarius Wynn.
Okay, perfect. And I'll get yours.
While they're taking this picture, let's give all these young people a big round of applause. All right, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, young lady. Excellent work. I will move to receive and file this.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, please cast your vote. All right, passes unanimously. Next, we have from Commissioner Brooks a memorial resolution honoring Coach Robert Hughes, who passed away last week.
With the passing of Coach Robert Hughes Sr., Fort Worth and Tarrant County have lost a legend. But his legend continues because the young people that he touched carry him in their hearts. He made such a difference in the lives of so many kids. I first encountered Coach Hughes as a student at I.M. Turl High School, where he won his first 3 state basketball championships under the segregated Prairie View Interscholastic League. Upon the closing of I.M. Turl, he became the basketball coach at Paul Lawrence Dunbar High School, where he won 2 more state basketball championships under the University Interscholastic League, the UIL. Coach Hughes was inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame as the winningest coach in high school basketball history. We have a memorial resolution recognizing the life of Coach Robert Hughes Sr. It will be presented to his family prior to the memorial service. I will not read it because it's quite lengthy. Well, maybe I will read it. I think he deserves it. Whereas the family and friends of Coach Robert Hughes Sr. were deeply saddened by his death on Wednesday, June 12, 2024. And whereas Robert Hughes was born on May 15, 1928 in Bristow, Oklahoma, and following his service in the United States Army, attended Texas Southern University as an All-American basketball player, received his Bachelor of Arts degree from the University of Tulsa, and received his Master's of Arts degree from Texas Wesleyan University. And whereas Robert Hughes became the head basketball coach at the historic I.M. Turl High School, where his teams won 9 district championships, 1 state runner-up, and 3 state championships. And whereas in 1973, Robert Hughes became the head basketball coach at Paul Lawrence Dunbar High School, winning 20 district championships, 19 by-district championships, 10 regional championships, 3 state runner-ups, and 2 state championships. And whereas Robert Hughes retired in 2005 as the all-time winningest high school basketball coach with a record of 1,333 wins with only 264 losses. was selected as the NHSCA National High School Coach of the Year in 2003, was inducted into the Texas Basketball Hall of Fame, the Texas Black Sports Hall of Fame, the Prairie View Interscholastic League Coaches Association's Hall of Honor, received the Morgan Wooten Lifetime Achievement Award by the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame in 2010, and was inducted into the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame on March 31st, 2017. And whereas Robert Hughes is immortalized in the naming of the courts at Fort Worth ISD's Wilkerson Grinas Activity Center and Dunbar High School, a Fort Worth Street, the feature-length documentary 5700 Ramey Avenue, the story of Coach Robert Hughes, directed and produced by one of his former student athletes, and Hughes House, a mixed-income multifamily development currently under construction on East Rosedale Street in the Stop 6 community. And whereas Robert Hughes's impact extends far beyond the court, shaping countless lives as a coach, mentor, father figure, and pillar of our community, and leaves behind an incredible legacy in the sport of basketball and across the entire Fort Worth community. Whereas Coach Robert Hughes Sr. leaves a legacy of love as he is survived by his daughters, the Right Reverend Carly J. Hughes, who is the Episcopal Bishop of Newark, New Jersey, and Robin Lee Hughes, who is a professor at the University of Indiana, and Robert Hughes Jr., who succeeded his father as coach at Dunbar High School, and a host of other relatives and many friends. Now therefore be it resolved that we, the Commissioners Court of Tarrant County, pay tribute to the memory of a beloved and honorable man, recognize the contributions he has made to the people of Tarrant County and to the state of Texas, and extend our deepest sympathy to the members of his family and his many friends for their great loss. In witness whereof, we have hereunto set our hands and caused the seal of Tarrant County to be affixed this 18th day of June, 2024. And I move approval of this memorial resolution.
Second.
And ask that we close today's session in memory and in honor of Coach Robert Hughes.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, please cast your vote. All right, it passes unanimously. The word legend is often overused. It's an understatement as to his impact on young people and high school basketball in this country. The winningest coach in the history of high school basketball. Pretty impressive. Pretty impressive. A life well lived.
Indeed.
All right, next we have a resolution regarding Criminal Courts Administrator J. Gregory Sugar from Commissioner Simmons.
Thank you. I wanted to take this opportunity to recognize employee who has had a tenured career here in Tarrant County, but he also is a resident of Precinct 2 and iconic in Precinct 2, particularly Dalworthington Gardens. where he has served as a volunteer, and best known for his service to Boy Scouts of America. But I want to, so I know him in two capacities and wanted to take this opportunity today to present this resolution honoring Criminal Courts Administrator J. Gregory Schugert. Whereas Tarrant County Criminal Courts Administrator Greg Schugert began his career with Tarrant County working for Tim Curry as the Criminal District Attorney's business manager in 2002, and after proudly representing Tarrant County as Criminal Courts Administrator for 13 years, Mr. Schugert resigned on June 17th. And whereas Mr. Schugert successfully implemented central magistration in Tarrant County, changing 40 years of legal custom to protect Tarrant County from lawsuits. And whereas Mr. Schugert championed both the creation of the mental health docket and enhanced mental health docket in Tarrant County. And whereas Mr. Schugert created a construct for the implementation of cite and release as an option to be used for all law enforcement agencies in Tarrant County. And whereas Mr. Schugert, through the execution of text message-based court appearance notifications, helped to successfully reduce the failure to appear rate in Tarrant County from 25% to 14% over 4 years. And whereas Mr. Schugert has assisted the cities of Arlington, Keller, Everett, as well as DFW Airport in conducting high rates of video magistration with a corresponding reduction of potential inmates being booked into the Tarrant County Jail. And whereas Mr. Schugert helped implement a scientific risk assessment for magistration, which helped safely raise the percentage of personal bonds for misdemeanors in Tarrant County from 2% in 2017 to 28% in 2024. And whereas Mr. Schugert successfully wrote an Office of Court Administration ARPA grant for a temporary overflow criminal court in Tarrant County to aid in Tarrant County residents' timely access to justice and the mitigation of jail crowding. Whereas Mr. Schugert implemented a new randomized attorney appointment system for indigent defense, use of electronic vouchers, and indigent defendant screening process. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Commissioners Court of Tarrant County, do hereby recognize Criminal Courts Administrator J. Gregory Schugert on his exemplary service to Tarrant County and congratulate him on his retirement. In witness whereof, we have hereunto set our hands and caused the seal of Tarrant County to be affixed this 18th day of June 2024. I move approval of this honorary resolution.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, please cast your vote. All votes in. All right, so it passes 3-2.
Okay. Mr. Schugert, if you would come on down, and I know you have brought some colleagues with you, Judge Kerry Walker, Judge of Criminal Court Number 2, and Judge George Gallagher from the 396th District Court are here in recognition of Mr. Schugert's impactful career. I'll come down and take a picture, and then you guys can speak.
I'll be real quick because I'm a citizen now and I only get 3 minutes. I'd like to thank Commissioner Simmons for the opportunity and recognition. My career started in Precinct 2. Precinct 2 was always good to me, starting with Commissioner Van Ravensway. I've been blessed in my career with working with very honorable people. I was pleased to work for Tim Curry. I got to, Commissioner Brooks had to put up with me in the IT steering committee. I appreciate all the leadership of the people, and particularly the judges that I served for, and it was honored to represent the third branch of government and do what was to make sure that the judicial independence take place. I wish the judges and this county the best of luck moving forward, and I will be paying attention as a Precinct 2 resident. You all have a wonderful day. Thank you very much.
My name is Kerry Walker, and I'm judge of County Criminal Court Number 2, and I've had the privilege and honor of working with, he doesn't work for me, I work with Greg Sugart. And my first experience with Greg was, I got elected for the first time back in November of 2014 was the first time I got elected. I got a phone call from Greg sometime in November or December of 2024, and reached out to me and asked me what I needed. And I said, heck, I don't know what I need. You know, I'm brand new to this thing. You tell me what I need. And so he helped me transition from private practice. I've been a private practice lawyer for over 20 years, and without Greg, I would not have been able to make the smooth transition that I did. Whatever I needed, he provided it or made it happen. When I first got there, my telephone didn't work. The previous judge had taken his phone number with him, so I had a dead phone in my office for, I don't know, for about 6 months. It's like there was a ghost there. And I have relied on Greg just about every day for the last 9.5 years, and it's been a privilege and an honor to work with him, and he will be missed. Thank you.
I'm George Gallagher, judge of the 396 District Court. We've worked with many things with Greg and many things that are going on in the judiciary, especially with the criminal courts, as the resolution states, are a direct result of his work. I hope that this body continues to recognize the work that has been put into place. It's going to continue to be necessary to work together, and I hope that we can all go forward. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, the next item. Next item is a resolution recognizing Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority on the assemblage of its 71st International Convention. Commissioner Simmons.
Commissioner Simmons has asked me to read this resolution, and I'm pleased to do so because I am very familiar with Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority in that my mother was a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha, as were 2 of my 3 sisters. So it's very deeply ingrained in who I am and who we are as a family. Resolution recognizing Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority incorporated on the assemblage of its 71st International Convention. Whereas Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority incorporated, an international service organization of college-educated professional women with corporate offices in Chicago, Illinois, will host its 71st International Convention, July 5th through the 11th, 2024 in Dallas, Texas. And whereas Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority incorporated was founded in 1908 on the campus of Howard University in Washington, D.C. as the first Greek letter sorority for African American collegiate women.
And whereas now Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated is comprised of 360,000 initiated members in undergraduate and graduate chapters in 12 countries. And whereas when the sorority convenes in Dallas, members will address childhood hunger by providing 25,000 Dallas ISD school children with an environmentally friendly bag filled with 2 breakfasts, 2 lunches, and 2 snacks as part of its childhood hunger initiative. And whereas the nearly 20,000 AKA members who will gather for the international convention also will distribute 8,500 hygiene kits to 4 North Texas social service agencies that support individuals in need. And whereas Tarrant County Commissioner Elisa Simmons was initiated in 1983 into Kappa Nu chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated at Texas Women's University, and Commissioner Simmons chartered the Alpha Beta Omega chapter in Mansfield, Texas. And whereas Commissioner Simmons is one of only 5 African American female county commissioners in the state of Texas. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Commissioners Court of Tarrant County, do hereby recognize Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated and commend its members for their 116 years of service to educate, encourage, and uplift children and families. In witness whereof, we have hereunto set our hands and caused the seal of Tarrant County to be affixed this 18th day of June, 2024.
I move approval.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to approve and a second. Any discussion? Okay, please cast your votes. Passes unanimously.
Okay. Let's have my sorority members come down. Pamela Harmon, Annie, Shirley, whoever's here. Come on down.
All AKAs in the house.
Yeah, all AKAs in the house.
Thank you, ladies, for being here. Let's give them a big round of applause.
Good morning. My name is Pamela Harmon, and I'm a committee lead for our International Convention. On behalf of Danette Anthony Reed, International President and CEO of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. We thank you, Commissioner Simmons, for this wonderful recognition, and to Commissioner Brooks for reading it so eloquently as usual. In the next couple of weeks, 20,000 members of our sorority will descend upon the DFW Metroplex area. We are ready to conduct business of the sorority as well as provide a boost in the economy from our hotels, restaurants, and shopping.
All right.
We will also perform community service projects around the DFW area. Last but not least, I wanted you to know I am a proud native of Fort Worth, Texas, a graduate of Poly High School. Go Parrots. I am honored to receive this special recognition on behalf of the sorority. Thank you again to Commissioner Simmons and the court.
Thank you, sir, ma'am. Sorry I didn't wear the right colors today.
All right, next up, we have a proclamation regarding Chief Charles Eert. Commissioner Ramirez.
Yes, is Chief Eckert here? Chief Eckert? Oh, I didn't recognize him in the hat.
Civilian clothes.
Yeah, civilian clothes. Well, you know, a career in law enforcement is becoming increasingly more difficult, and it's remarkable, anybody who's achieved 32 years of service. So I'm honored to read this proclamation to honor Chief Eckert for his contributions and his sacrifices for the citizens of Tarrant County. Whereas Executive Chief Charles Eert began his career with the Tarrant County Sheriff's Office in 1992 and graduated from the Police Academy in 1993, and whereas before joining the Sheriff's Office, Chief Eckert entered active duty in 1987 after and was assigned to the 82nd Airborne Division at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and whereas he was a non-commissioned officer and served in Operation Desert Shield, Desert Storm, and upon leaving active duty, he enlisted in the Texas National Guard. During his service, Chief Eckert received the Army Achievement Medal, Southwest Asia Service Medal, and National Defense Ribbon. And whereas Chief Eckert has worked in judicial, patrol, crime scene, criminal investigations, and was promoted to sergeant in 2002, patrol lieutenant in 2004, captain in 2007, where he reported back to detention as an administrative captain in 2007. And whereas he was appointed Chief Deputy over Personnel, Community Relations, and the Police Academy in 2009, and whereas in December of 2018, Chief Eckert was chosen to take over booking and support services operations, and then in December 2020, Sheriff Wayburn appointed him as the jail administrator with the rank of Executive Chief, and whereas the Texas Commission on Jail Standards commended Chief Eckert for coming up with solutions on critical operational issues, including the adjustment of intake processes during the pandemic and for quarantine housing configuration to drastically reduce the spread of the COVID-19 virus inside of the jail. And now therefore be it resolved that we, the Commissioners Court of Tarrant County, do hereby recognize Executive Chief Charles Eckert for his 32 years of service to Tarrant County, and we congratulate him on his retirement. In witness whereof we have hereunto set our hands and caused the seal of Tarrant County to be affixed this 18th day of June 2024. I would move for adoption.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do any comments? We do have one speaker on this item. All right, seeing none, our speaker is Lon Burnham.
Good morning. I hope everyone is well. I'm not going to ask anyone to vote against this proclamation. It seems particularly inappropriate to refuse to acknowledge the service of someone who has served the public. Inappropriate and lacking in basic decorum in class. So I'm not going to ask you to vote against this. But I think it is a really good opportunity for me to remind you of the call for a national search for a replacement. A national search that would preclude anyone that self-identifies with any of the Christian nationalist organizations that are invading our jails. We need a national search. It is, in my mind, very obvious that it is no coincidence
the timing of this retirement. It immediately follows another death in the jail in April that has been declared by the medical examiner homicide. I'm very disturbed by our visit. The Religious Society of Friends, a half dozen of us, went and visited the jail in December a year and a half ago. I was very disturbed then by what I saw, and I continue to be disturbed by the callous disregard for health care issues in the jail. We heard numerous women cry out that they weren't getting their meds. The history of this kind of problem is so legendary that my wife, who is an insulin-dependent diabetic, is afraid of being arrested because she's afraid that she'll die in jail. She would never do anything to get arrested anyway, but that's beside the point. Most of the people in our jail are in jail for the same reason that my forebears in England were in jail. They were poor. I'm disturbed by other items on this agenda talking about incarcerating and paying almost $100 a night for people that are accused of misdemeanors. How inappropriate can we get to incarcerate for an indeterminate time people accused of misdemeanors? We can get more inappropriate. We can kill them in jail. Now, like I said, I'm not going to ask you to vote against this, but I am going to insist that it's past the time for a re-evaluation of the management of this jail and a search that includes a national search for appropriately trained administrators. Thank you for your time.
All right, we do have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, please cast your vote. All right,
And
passes
to
unanimously.
come down to receive this proclamation, I think you've got some family members here with you. Is that right?
My wife with me.
Bring them on down. Say a few words.
I will. I'm going to keep it very short. Thank you all, and to anybody that I served or worked with, I appreciate everything. Thank you.
Thank you. Best of luck to you. All right, that's the end of our proclamations, resolutions, and presentations section. We will now move to the consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended?
So moved.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, please cast your vote. All right, it passes unanimously, which then brings us to the administrator section. And we will start off with...
I think we have a public hearing first, sir.
well, let's do that first. Yeah, the first thing we have is a public hearing. My apologies. Public hearing regarding the fiscal year 2024 Tarrant County Housing Assistance Office Annual Agency Plan. I will now open the public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to speak to this item? All right, there's no one that has signed up to speak, no one stepping forward to speak, so I will move to close the public hearing. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. Any discussion? All right, please cast your vote. All right, passes unanimously. The public hearing is closed, and that issue will come up for a vote. Is it the next meeting?
That's the plan, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you very much. That does now bring us to item A1, which is amendments to subrecipient agreements between Tarrant County and Community Enrichment Center, University of North Texas Health Science Center, City of Arlington, Lena Pope, Child Care Associates, and Black Heart Association related to the Tarrant County Fiscal Recovery Funds Program. Mr. Schaffner.
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. Staff's here seeking approval for the amendments. These are ILA amendments for ARPA contracts. The judge read off all the different ones, but we're seeking these changes so that we can then reprogram the funds in the ARPA budget to continue our ARPA programs as we work towards our December 31st obligation deadline.
Move for approval.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, please cast your vote. All right, passes unanimously.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 2, we're seeking approval of amendments to the ARPA program budget, taking into account the changes to reobligate the funds that we just reobligated to the ILAs and move those funds around into other programs so that we can make sure that the funding is spent.
Move for approval.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion here? All right, seeing none, please cast your vote. Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Brings us to item A3. Are you talking about this one?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Item A3, approval of a resolution to increase Tarrant County's homestead exemption of property taxes pursuant to Section 1113N of the Texas Tax Code. Last year, the Commissioners Court approved the first Tarrant County property tax exemption for residential homesteads for up to 10%. This year, it will take us up to the statutory maximum allowed of 20%.
All right, I'll move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, please cast your vote. All right, passes unanimously. Item A4, we do have a speaker. It is a similar resolution. I'll let you take it from here, but regarding the maximizing the homestead exemption on the JPS tax.
Thank you, Judge. Yes, this resolution would maximize, or again, go all the way up to the 20% of the Tarrant County Hospital District homestead exemption for residential property taxes. Happy to go into any details if we need to, but with that, happy for the speaker to come up.
Move for approval.
All right. So we have a motion and a second to approve this item. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, our speaker is Geraldine Jackie Cox.
Thank you. I'm Jackie Cox. Well, as a taxpayer, I got to tell you, I wouldn't mind most increased exemptions, but this one gives me a little heartburn. This is a request for an extension by a year of an exemption for the hospital district, and I think it might turn into a permanent one. But here's the problem. Those of us who pay attention to what's going on with health care for the indigent, for the nearly indigent like me, are aware that Medicaid funding is being cut drastically and might be cut even more going forward. And the hospital district serves people who are eligible for Medicaid reimbursement. So you start cutting into their revenue stream when you cut Medicaid at the federal level. If you cut the possible revenue that they will recover here with an increased tax exemption, what you do is decrease the amount of available funding to take care of the indigent through the hospital district. And that's a lot more economic than just state Medicare or Medicaid. And it's also a humanitarian kind of thing. People who work jobs that don't pay them enough to buy insurance need some kind of public protection for their health care. It's important. And so I think we should not be taking a vote on this until we've heard from the hospital district what they foresee as their budget for next year and their budget needs for next year. It's, you know, if I were only here talking about what's best for me personally, it might be the increased homestead exemption for the hospital district. But when I consider what's better for Tarrant County as a whole, and for me as a concerned citizen who cares about what happens to others in my community, I think we should put this off. You know, reconsider this one on a day after we've heard from the hospital district about what their budget needs are going to be and how much money they're really going to need, because we're not better off if we have people dying in the streets for lack of care. And that's why I'm asking you to either vote no on this or just move it to another day. I don't care if you, it's hard to commit to, it's hard to say, oh no, I don't want a tax abatement if you're a public elected official, because most of us want tax abatements, you know, most citizens do, but not all citizens own their own homes, and those most in need don't. So please put this off until after you've heard from the hospital district. Thank you.
So just to clarify, I have an email from Dr. Duncan that says, among other things, I just wanted to share with the board as part of my remarks that staff believes we can very much well absorb that additional 10% exemption. So anybody, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else on the court have any questions or comments?
I've got a comment. I'll just say, you know, I've worked very closely with JPS CEO Dr. Duncan over the last several weeks and months, and they're absolutely excited to help us get to the tax rate that we need to get to. And they're very, very good at what they do, and they're getting more efficient by the day. And so they've assured us, or assured me, that they're very supportive of this
Are they
measure.
here to speak today?
Yeah.
No? Okay, well.
Thank you. Please be seated.
I guess I'm going to have to trust you on this one. I do, okay? But
thank you.
You hear my concern. Thank you.
Yes.
Yes, so Russell, I have a question that pertains to the projects indicated in the 2018 JPS bond election.
Okay.
So,
We probably, I think Rory is here. Yes.
Oh, okay.
From the CFO, from the interim CFO from the hospital district.
Okay, thank you. I didn't know. So I'm going to read the exact bond language. And because I feel like that's important, because that language to me represents a promise made to the 81% of the voters in favor of the bond. And then you can answer the question. So are we adhering to this? The issuance of $800 million by Tarrant County on behalf of the Tarrant County Hospital District for the purpose of acquiring, constructing, improving, equipping, and enlarging facilities of the hospital system needed to meet the demands of the public business of the county, including but not limited to a new mental health and behavioral health hospital, new main tower, hospital towers for general and specialized patient care, physician nurse training, and level 1 trauma care, a new cancer center, and 4 new regional health centers, and a new ambulatory center. Is all of that, are all these projects underway?
So first of all, I am the interim chief financial officer for JPS, Rory McCready. I thought I would introduce myself first. So with respect to the question, I think the original bond election did lay out those specific projects, but there were, obviously between 2018 and kind of kicking off construction, some of those needs in the community did change slightly. For example, we needed a psychiatric emergency center, and so that was a priority for building that versus an inpatient mental health hospital. We do have future plans to include that in other phases. But so I would say we are withholding or upholding our responsibility to the bond work and the master facility plan, but it might be slightly different. We've constructed the cancer center out of operating funds. We did not have to borrow to do that. We also constructed the medical home Northeast out of operations. So The ambulatory surgery center has broken ground. The towers, the work on the towers has begun. We also have, at least design on the towers has begun. And then the medical home Southwest is fully underway. So I hope that answers your question. If not, I can clarify.
Okay, so if we pass this homestead exemption today, and assuming the court chooses to pass again, no new revenue rate for JPS this year and going forward indefinitely, we'll just want to make sure that JPS will be able to realize every one of those projects promised to voters in that bond.
I think at the current state, we are confident that those projects would continue. I think we're taking a much shorter approach with respect to the tax rate and homestead exemptions, and we're having to look at adjustments in our budget from a revenue standpoint, growth in revenues, as well as how we cut operational costs to be able to fund those additional costs for the projects that you referenced. So it's an ongoing evaluation every year, and it will be until the last piece of carpet's laid.
Okay,
I appreciate CFO's speech. I spoke with Dr. Duncan just this morning about this homestead exemption and the upcoming tax rate. And she assured me that the hospital district could well absorb the cost of the homestead exemption and would have no difficulty funding the programs under the bond issue and also funding the Futures Fund, which is that reserve account which is designed to cover the difference between the $800,000 and bonds and the total cost of the bond issue. So I support this. I'm good with it because she's good with it.
Thank you. So I'll throw in one while I'm here. Y'all may remember these numbers, but last year the budgeted excess revenue over expenses for JPS was approximately $109 million. So far, through April 30th only, so there's still 5 months left in the fiscal year, the actual excess revenue over expenses is $143 million. So it's already almost $35 million over the budgeted excess revenue. That's $34 million. All right, any other questions from the commissioners?
So
I wouldn't draw any hard and firm conclusions from that number. It could be that some of the expenses will be back-end loaded, and that $140 odd million number may come down some.
Okay.
It's possible. I don't know.
While we're talking about the homestead exemption today, we need to keep in mind the no new revenue rate. If we continue to lower that, I see problems in the future. So thank you for being here.
All right, thank you very much. We have a motion and a second, I do believe. Any further discussion before we vote? All right, seeing none, please cast your vote. Okay, so the homestead exemptions for both, what are we on? We're just on the hospital. Passes 4-1. Okay, next up is A5, which is discussion of possible action concerning the approval of a resolution establishing a Tarrant County exemption to property taxes for child care facilities. Mr. Schaffner.
Thank you, Judge. In the 88th session and then subsequently in the general election, the legislature passed and then the citizens voted to approve an exemption for child care facilities. The minimum amount of the exemption is 50%, and it can go up to 100%. And it is only for cities and county property taxes. They didn't include in the bill, in the language, any additional facilities like school districts or hospital districts or anything like this. It's only cities and counties. And so with exemptions, the court has taken, again, you did half of your, you did half of the homestead exemption last year, and then and this year you just approved the second half of it. We could also do something like that if you wanted to look at it, have half one year and half the subsequent year, just to follow the pattern that the court's been doing on exemptions. So, but with that, happy to answer any questions and look forward to the discussion.
All right, any questions for Mr. Schaffner, or do we have a motion?
I have a motion. I would, first of all, I think that it's very, very important that our families get relief with the cost of child care expenses. Child care expenses have risen much more rapidly than inflation. It is a tremendous burden on families with one child in child care, not to mention those families with two or more in child care. It's almost to the point that you pay as much now for daycare as you pay for a college degree. And that is a situation that begs for some relief. So my motion is that we adopt a 50% exemption from, property taxes for child care facilities this year, and take a look at the other 50% for next year.
All right, we have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion before we get to speakers?
I'll say this, I'm very supportive of the property tax exemption for childcare facilities. One of the major concerns that I had when this first passed the legislature and then when we were working through the system is that the facility operators, the folks that are actually operating the programs, that they benefit from this and that it doesn't just become a tax break for landlords who don't pass those savings on. Now, I know they put some protections in the bill with an affidavit that you have to sign that it is passed through, which is why I'm okay with it. But I think there's still work that needs to be done in the ledge to make sure that we button that up, because the intended beneficiaries are those working class parents that need these programs and those providers that need these programs. So I do support it. We've got to watch it like a hawk and make sure that it's actually benefiting the folks that it's supposed to benefit.
You're right.
So I'm not generally in favor of using tax policy in this way to solve this type of problem. And to be clear, to the problem, Tarrant County and particularly Precinct 2 are critically short on affordable child care. We went through this with the ARPA funds discussion, and I was pretty shocked at just how few Head Start and affordable child care facilities exist in the city of Arlington, for example. My preference would be that the county and possibly the state and federal government also acknowledge the problem and attempt to come up with creative solutions as to solving it. But the fact is that in our current environment and with the priorities of this court, I find that improbable. So while I am not sure that a property tax exemption is the best instrument to help our affordable child care providers, it seems to be the only realistic instrument available. And for that reason, I'm a firm yes on this.
All right, any other comments from commissioners? All right, thank you, Russell. Our speakers signed up for this item are Gloria Simmons, Tracy Davis, and Leah Stanley. Come on up.
Good morning, County Commissioners, Judge O'Hare. My name is Gloria Simmons. I am the owner and director at Pollywog Early Learning Academy and Little Hoppers Learning Center. TRS certified child care centers operating here in Fort Worth, Texas. My business is located in Precinct 1. I'm here to testify in support of adopting Proposition 2. As you all know, child care programs are the backbone of our community and our economy. We provide safe and nurturing environments for our youngest citizens so that their parents can go to work and go to school. Right now, most child care programs in Tarrant County, including my own, we're really struggling to make ends meet. We're forced to make difficult choices between keeping prices low so that parents can afford our services, or raising tuition so that we can invest in the quality of our programs and pay our staff what they deserve. With the money I will save from this tax relief, I plan to purchase uniforms for my students. In my centers, children sometimes come to school with the same clothes that they had on the day before. Having uniforms on hand, I can give these to the students, and this will mean they will have something clean to wear while they're in our care. This property tax relief, it would finally give me and my fellow providers some breathing room. Most importantly, it will help quality-rated centers that serve low-income families stay open so that we can continue providing the much-needed child care services that the families deserve. Commissioners, Judge O'Hare, voting to pass Proposition 2 at 100% will show child care businesses and low-income families that Tarrant County cares about improving access to high-quality, affordable child care. I urge you to adopt this important measure at 100% property tax relief. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Ms. Davis?
Good morning. My name is Tracy Davis. I'm a director and co-owner of Imagination Learning Centers in Tarrant County, Texas, and we too are 4-star TRS certified. I'm here to talk about all of child care centers in Tarrant County right now, not just my own. We're a vital part of the community. We provide essential services to families who are working to support their children. We strive to keep our tuition rates as low as possible to ensure quality child care remains accessible to all families, regardless of their income. However, the commitment comes with financial challenges, especially now. Our fees have, our expenses have raised about 30% between raising our salaries for our teachers and just food costs. One crucial area where this tax relief would really make a significant difference is the development of our outdoor classroom program. Outdoor and sensory play are so beneficial for children. Most children outside of their school day don't get an opportunity for any sensory play. And research shows that children who lack the opportunities for outdoor and sensory experiences often face developmental delays. According to the study by American Academy of Pediatrics, children who engage in regular sensory play promotes physical health, social skills, and cognitive development. They learn how to talk to one another. They learn how to share and communicate, and without teachers interacting, it's amazing to watch. But by reducing and especially eliminating the property tax for the child care centers, you enable us to invest more in the equipment that we need. Right now, it's so hot outside, we're having to put misters and fans. We need shades. We need more sensory opportunities for these children to enjoy outdoors more than just 3 months of the year. So I urge you to consider the profound impact this tax relief will have on our ability to provide high-quality, affordable care. Your support will help us to ensure every child in Tarrant County has the opportunity to grow and learn and succeed in an environment that nurtures their development. I thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Ms. Stanley.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Excuse me for not giving you eye-to-eye contact because I want all my thoughts that I typed up to be heard, okay? Thank you. Good morning, County Commissioners. My name is Leah Stanley, and I am the owner and director of Noah Child Care, a Texas Rising Star Quality Center certified family home, just like the rest of them. I am in Tarrant County in Grand Prairie. My business is located in Precinct 2, and I'm here to testify in support of adopting Proposition 2. I want to call to your attention that this policy excludes family child care homes like mine. However, I'm here to support the child care facilities, okay? Family child care homes is a public service. We are an essential part of our local child care system. As noted during COVID 2020, my program is unique because we provide a morally balanced quality care and environment for infants to school-age children, which is much needed in our community. A lot of morals is kind of shaky right now in some places, but by us being a part of the community providing this public service, it is important. Parents' feedback let us know that their children are thriving in school without discipline issues and excelling in their talents. We serve children, nurse practitioners, teachers, managers in the airline industry, foremen of the postal service, attorneys, case managers for hospitals, as well as other government workers. Our services are critical to the families, and we too are in desperate need of financial relief. I'm asking the commissioners of this court to adopt a resolution to explore ways to support the family child care providers with a similar tax relief to Prop 2. This would show the families that I serve that Tarrant County cares about sustaining their child care options. I urge you to adopt Proposition 2 and 100% property tax relief, and to further expand these supports to family child care providers. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion on this item? All right, seeing none, please cast your vote. All right, it passes unanimously, which brings us to item A6, to discuss and possibly approve participation of the City of Fort Worth Tax Increment Financing Reinvestment Zone number 16, Veal Ranch.
Good morning. Still.
Good morning, Megan.
As Judge O'Hare stated, I'm here today to ask the court to consider participation in the City of Fort Worth Tax Increment Financing Reinvestment Zone number 16, also known as Veal Ranch, which is a 5,200-acre TIF. This is be at a 50% maximum contribution for a maximum amount of 30 years.
Move approval.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve this item. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, please cast your vote. All right, it passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
I have the next item as well.
Oh, you do. A7, move to approve.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this item?
I do have some comments. So 2 weeks ago, I voted reluctantly for this. I did it against my better judgment. I asked some questions up here about this item, and felt like I got pretty lackluster responses back, and I was very concerned because I wasn't briefed on this item beforehand. But all my colleagues seemed comfortable with it, and we discussed it in closed, came back out, and I voted for it, mea culpa. So I guess let me say some things I should have said 2 weeks ago. First, Chandler, and I understand what happened with the newspaper, the advertiser, but it appears that insufficient due diligence was done from staff on vetting this a couple weeks ago, before it was placed on the agenda, and that's disappointing. I understand again the apparently falsified affidavit from the company saying they advertised the public hearing when they did not. That's pretty unprecedented. Nevertheless, we have to be better at verifying all information submitted to this court is accurate. But I think there is a bigger issue at play here. Frankly, I don't understand why this even got added to the agenda. There's no constituency that I'm aware of in Tarrant County clamoring for Republic Services to save money on getting tax-free bonds. I'm certainly not aware of any in Precinct 2. It seems that we've gotten into the habit in this county of adding things to the agenda that will benefit corporations without ever asking if that's doing anything for our residents. Case in point, the city of Mansfield switched away from Republic Services to another company just last year because the company wanted to charge residents too much for a reduced level of service. So it's my understanding that rates for trash pickup have been increasing a lot lately with some of these companies. Now, that may be because the companies are experiencing inflation in their inputs, which they're having to pass along to customers. Understandable. But just maybe it's because they're, I don't know, soaking in more profit for themselves on the back of their clients and hiding it in an inflationary environment. I don't know. I need to see some data to flesh that out. Regardless, if Tarrant County was asked by this company to provide these tax-free bonds to boost their profit line, shouldn't we ask for something from them in return for our constituents? My answer is unequivocally yes. So in the future, Mr. Mayor, if a company wants to come ask this court for a handout, that's fine. However, I'd like staff to instruct them that if they want my vote, they better get an answer as to what that corporate handout will do for my constituents.
All right, any other comments on this item? All right, we do have two speakers, Reed Bills and Lon Burnham.
My name is Reed Bills, and I'm a Tarrant County taxpayer. At your last meeting on June 4th, Commissioner Simmons pulled the item relating to this subject from the agenda, as she just told you. She asked for more information about the proposed bond expense. 5 citizens agreed with her and told the court that there appeared to be insufficient notice and information provided for this high-dollar project. The item is again on the agenda because you wisely did not vote at that time and asked for more details. I am speaking today to remind you that Commissioner Simmons and committed citizens are watching what this court is doing and coming before you on a regular basis to express our valid concerns.
Good morning again, Commissioner Ficus. I'm Lon Burnham, and initially I hesitated to sign up on this item because anything I say is going to be interpreted in this succinct, I told you so. In reality, you were warned, as you were just told again, that this item was problematic. I warned you that it failed in the legal process. I warned you that it failed to represent any kind of public interest here in Tarrant County. And we talked to you about our legitimate concerns that I now understand is probably due to the fact of lack of staffing. If you only have one person working on economic development for a county of 2 million, let me tell you, My graduate degree is in city and regional planning, and I have a specialty niche in economic development. You are understaffed, and that's probably the reason staff inappropriately put this on the agenda. I have more experience than the 3 newest members in public office than all 3 of you combined. Let me tell you, buzzwords I watch for: solid waste disposal, mission economic development, Republic Services. If you know anything about the history of garbage collection and waste management in this country over the last 100 years, most of the major corporations were started by what is colloquially known as the mafia. The fact of the matter is they have been laundering operations, but that doesn't mean that they always operate within the law even today. And I would consider any one of those 3 sets of buzzwords to grab your attention and pay close attention. It is probably a bad contract and not in the public interest. So please, I don't want to get up here and say I told you so on a regular basis, but today I told you so.
All right, we have a motion and a second on this item. To clarify, that motion is to approve rescinding Court Order 143221. Any further discussion on, and I'm assuming your second, who seconded it?
Second.
Yeah, I'm assuming your second is, you agree with my motion, what it was?
Yes.
All right, we have a motion and a second to rescind. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, please cast your vote. All right, passes unanimously. Next up is item A8. There's been an amendment to that this morning. I move to approve the amended number 8 out-of-state travel requests.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion there? All right, please cast your vote. All right, passes unanimously. Next up is A9, removed from consent, which is to consider approving an interlocal agreement between Tarrant County and the town of Edgecliff Village for law enforcement services to be provided by the Tarrant County Sheriff's Department during fiscal year 2024.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve this item. Any discussion from the commissioners? I'm sorry? I'll get there here in just a second. It's kind of how it goes. Any comments from the commissioners? Anything from the staff? Okay, we have Lon Burnham, Josh Lucas, Gerald and Jackie Cox, and Doreen Geiger. I'm sorry, Doreen is not speaking on this item.
Thank you. I'm hopeful that all of you have access online to the actual document that we're going to be talking about. And I'd like to direct your attention to page 2 of this interlocal agreement and paragraphs C and D in particular. With respect to the jail, it says, the county shall provide jail services for housing town prisoners, including providing booking services, feeding, hygiene, and release. Jail services for Class C misdemeanors shall be invoiced monthly at the rate of $85 per inmate per day. Got your attention, Commissioner Ramirez. You can't put people with Class C misdemeanors in jail. Those are parking tickets. I've had a lot of them. Nobody ever threatened to send me to jail. They send me little notices: if you don't either pay this fine or show up to contest this fine. If you show up to contest it, you can have a little hearing. Or otherwise, you can just pay it now and it'll all be over with. You don't put people in jail for Class C misdemeanors. Who can go to jail for any kind of offense is set out in the penal code, in the Code of Criminal Procedure. And guess what? Nobody with a Class C misdemeanor can be sent to jail or prison. This contract didn't go to Mr. Cradaville for approval. It went to Robert Cohn and Candace Boots, whoever they are. I don't know them. But ask Mr. Cradaville, does he think we can jail Class C misdemeanors? The answer is if you sign this contract, you're signing your potential liability from a lot of people who get Class C thrown in jail for a Class C. And I also remind you that our jail is seriously overcrowded, and I don't know how many Class C misdemeanors you're going to get out of Edgecliff Village. It's not huge, but even one, is too many, because you don't have authority to put people in jail for Class C misdemeanors. And the other thing y'all promised to do is enter Class C warrants into the TCIC regional database as though they were criminals. I think maybe the TCIC database, when it gets a Class C, goes, so what? Go away. I don't know what the database does, but I hope there is no national database of traffic tickets. So I suggest that you pull this contract down. Do not agree to sign this. And I suggest that going forward, if you have anything that agrees to put people in the jail for a Class C, you send it right away, whoever's over here, who reviews these contracts. Send it to Mr. Crowdable for his advice. Thank you.
Mr. Burnham.
Ms. Cox is the attorney. I'm not. But it does seem like you're getting inadequate legal counsel, and you're getting inadequate monitoring of what is put on a consent agenda by your administrative staff. So I'm here, second agenda item in a row, to say, please don't make me say, I told you so. Do not pass this. Send it back to be reworked. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lucas.
Lucas. I rise to express my First Amendment right. I was born and raised here in Fort Worth. About a month ago, Sheriff Wayburn came down and gave a presentation where he said they don't have any Class C misdemeanor people in the jail. When we have information that we asked through the Freedom of Information Act that says they've housed, that they've incarcerated people, like 1,000 people with Class C misdemeanors in the last year. And then there's a contract today that's negotiating housing and issuing warrants for people with Class C misdemeanors. I find it kind of confusing as a citizen when there's documents that say one thing but our elected officials say the other thing. I think he showed a videotape of another jail that day of a black man with dreadlocks attacking a jailer that was shown on Fox News, which was not Tarrant County. This sort of misinformation and doublespeak kind of draws into question like the legitimacy of our jail. Why are we housing people with Class C misdemeanors and signing contracts to house people with Class C misdemeanors when it's not, according to the code, they can't be jailed. The highest form of punishment is a $500 fine, according to the Texas law. It's very, I'm just a citizen. I can find these contradictions easily. I don't understand what's going on, so that's all I have.
Thank you, Art. We have a motion and a second on this item. Any further discussion?
Your Honor, I will withdraw my motion to approve this contract and ask that it be renegotiated to remove the Class C clause from the contract.
All right, so you're withdrawing your motion, which then kills the second. Okay. And the item is, it gives law enforcement the authority to put in the jail someone who has been arrested for a Class C misdemeanor. That's your reason?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, so we don't arrest people in Tarrant County. We don't put people with Class Cs in our jail. We don't do that.
Walk me through here. I think the clause and how I read it is if they have warrants for Class C misdemeanors. So if somebody commits a Class C assault, PI, whatever it is, if warrants are issued, Edgecliff Village, they don't have a police department. Tarrant County law enforcement officers
Nor do they have a jail.
Contracted to provide police services there, respond to their homes when they call. But if somebody has Class C warrants, I think that's, because they don't have a jail either. So I agree, you can't arrest somebody for a Class C, but when it goes to a warrant, when a judge issues a warrant because they've not showed up to court or paid it, I think that's what this clause is. So I don't know how you get around that, or Edgecliff Village is requesting this ILA. So my point is, I don't know how you get around that.
So you heard what he said. Do you agree? Go ahead, step up. Do you agree that that's what the clause is referring to?
Yes, so this clause is it's referring to Class C warrants, which a person can be arrested on that. This contract has been in place since about 1988. We have other city contracts that we take care of those cities because they don't have law enforcement and they don't have a jail. So part of the authority of law enforcement when it comes to Class C warrants is to arrest when needed. Now, our county right now does not arrest on Class C misdemeanor warrants unless there is something else that's typically connected to that. For example, let's say that we go to a domestic violence situation and we need to remove one of those parties for the safety of the situation for the night, and they have a Class C warrant. That would be an example of where we might go ahead and exercise our right to arrest them on that warrant. As far as us going out and making Class C arrest, we're not doing that. There are some exceptions to where we could, but we are not doing that at this time. So this is part of the boilerplate kind of language for this contract, but we have to, if we're going to take care of a city as a law enforcement agency, we need to put everything in there that law enforcement would do, and that would include Class C warrants. We wouldn't leave that out of a contract if we're the law enforcement agency for that city. It wouldn't be appropriate.
Okay. All right. Any other questions?
Mark, did you have any guidance on this? Is that how you interpret it as well?
So, in my view, Commissioner, there was not a need to make any additional change on this. The language, if we're going to confine it to just warrants, can certainly be cleaned up. I had review of it and approved it. As far as a copy of it,
I reinstate my motion to approve.
Okay.
Reinstate my second.
So we have a motion to approve again. We have a second again. All right, any further discussion here? All right, seeing none, please cast your vote. All right, it passes 4-1. Okay, next item on the agenda. I think we're done with section A, which would then take us to D1, Budget and Risk Management. This is discussion and possible action related to fiscal year 24 appropriation adjustments. I'll move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on D1? All right, seeing none, please cast your vote. All right, passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Helen, for your presentation. All right, next up, we have Human Resources. Ms. Glenn. This is to consider an out-of-class pay extension in IT.
Good morning. It's still morning. Can you all hear me okay? I was having a hard time hearing in the back. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
I can hear you.
Okay, great. Thank you. So as the judge indicated, this is approval of an out-of-class pay extension. This may look a little bit familiar. You've seen this before. The IT department has an individual who has been working out of class as the SAP director for a little bit now. You may recall that our policy requires court approval after 90 days. And so we're at that 90-day point. There is a cost associated with this request. It's about $2,400. However, the cost is completely offset by salary savings.
Move approval.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second on this item. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, please cast your vote. Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have purchasing item K1, which is an annual contract for professional services to prepare a central services cost allocation plan. It is a federal requirement. Anything you'd like to add, Melissa?
Nope. I summed it up.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve item K1. Any discussion? All right, please cast your vote. All right, passes unanimously. Next up, we have item K2, which is an annual contract for printing and mailing of absentee ballots.
Move approval.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve this item. There is a speaker on this. Anything you'd like to add, Melissa, or share?
No, this is our standard contract, and
Okay, Doreen Geiger.
no changes.
All right, we have a motion and a second on this item. Any discussion? All right, please cast your vote. All right, passes unanimously. Brings us to item K3, which is an annual contract for fire suppression, equipment inspection, maintenance, and repair. I'll move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that? All right, please cast your vote. All right, passes unanimously. Next up, items 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I will move to approve items 4 through 8.
Second.
Oh, I have a
Question? Okay, okay, go ahead.
Okay, so on item 4, which is purchase of police package SUVs, just a quick question. So if we're continuing to have difficulty ordering and receiving the police package SUVs for a litany of reasons, why are we not looking at the purchase of sedans? I just came up. So just wondering why we're not looking at sedans for the sheriff's office fleet. Is there an operational reason that it has to be SUVs?
No, this particular bid was put out for SUVs because we were going to do them all separately.
Yeah, it's probably not a question for you. The sheriff's department still here? Yeah, there she is.
Hi, there's not very many sedans anymore that they really make for a police package. There's a few out there. They're not really practical for, as far as equipment and roominess of what you need for a police vehicle anymore. So most of the vehicles nowadays, they look for trucks, they look for SUVs, they look for things that can carry a lot of equipment, people, that sort of thing. So.
Okay, I just want you to have what you need, and we can't, I mean, it's hard as heck to get these SUVs, so.
It is, and there are a few sedans, and, you know, if we can come across them and that they would work for what we need, we could do it, but they're not as practical as they may have been when they were a little bit larger many years ago.
Thank you.
You know, Commissioner, and hopefully this process may help solve the problem. You see they're awarding 5 vendors here as opposed to just one at a time.
Yeah.
So hopefully by opening up the pool, we don't have to go back, but I'm with you. If they got a Pinto, it's a police package, we need to buy it. We need to get our guys a new car.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to approve items K 4 through 8. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, please cast your vote. All right, passes unanimously. Brings us to K9. Anybody have any questions on these permission requests for bids and RFPs?
Move approval.
Second.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second and another second to give permission to take bids and RFPs. Any discussion before we vote? All right, please cast your vote. All right, passes unanimously. All right, that now takes us to 2 items from consent. One is K12. K12 is annual contract for jail security electronics and software systems integration, maintenance, and repair from facilities management. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion before we bring up our speaker? All right, seeing none, Bishop Kirkland.
This agenda items and allocation to the Tarrant County Jail. I'm strongly recommending
my commissioner, Commissioner Brooks, not to vote in favor of this item as it represents judiciary and fiscal irresponsibility as well as disrespect for the constituencies of your district. I want to remind the entire commission that the checks that you write come from taxpayers in this room. Although this was Pride Month, I'm yet to see at the end of any rainbow a pot of gold. Therefore, this money is our money. Pull back the strings of currency, hold them so tight until Father George Washington falls off the face of a dollar bill. I've spoken to Ms. Bratton and Ms. Johnson. They are not interested in dollars. That doesn't make sense. That is the prime, that in the prime of these two young Negro lives, these babies was mowed down like grass on the side of the highways of our city. The blood of Anthony and Chastity is crying out and demand justice. One day, each of you will stand before the Most High and will be asked where you ride on the war quest of life. Yes, even commissioners and sheriffs have to answer to a higher power. Fellow Marine Anthony Johnson's death was ruled homicide, and for every homicide, there's a murderer. And in my little brother's case, there are murderers. Commissioner Brooks, Commissioner Simmons, Commissioner Ramirez, in my opinion, you're the only members of this court that have shown any apathy or concern or compassion. By sitting quietly, you give your proxy. Ms. Simmons, I'm asking your fraternity not to spend a dime in Tarrant County, your sorority, not to send a dime in Tarrant County during their convention. Now, each of you make a stance. Hold back your signature for funding of the Tarrant County Jail or our elected sheriff. It is time for him to face the music and not just come to this court for a photo op. At each meeting, you completely blow me away about your apparent disdain and lack of sympathy. This diocese carries on business as usual, even to the point that major civil rights violation. Now, the infamous Joe Clark put locks on the doors of Eastside High School in Patterson, New Jersey, to lock out those he didn't want in his school, where our sheriff places locks on the jail and on the building which houses his office. I am recommending this committee to take our tax dollars seriously, not send another dime to anything needed for that jail until he comes down here and face us, and not just for some dadgum photo op. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second on this item. Do we have any discussion? All right, seeing none, please cast your vote. All right, passes unanimously. Brings us to K18. I don't have anyone signed up to speak to K. Oh, okay, gotcha. This is a contract for multi-mission protective equipment in the sheriff's office. It's considering exercising a first option for renewal.
Okay. Oh, where are you going?
Go ahead.
All right. I'm looking at the court communique like I did over the weekend and struggling with what we're getting here. So I did call purchasing yesterday, and she forwarded emails throughout the evening. But it's my hope that we would put more than this multi-mission armor carrier system components per bid specs, quantity 75, the total unit price $2,520.75 each. What is it? I'd like to know what it is that I'm being asked to approve. So I think you told me this is, tell us.
Yeah, yesterday we spoke that they were vests and shields.
Okay.
And
okay.
Good morning, Court.
Hi, how are you?
Chief Deputy Calvin Bond. The armor that we're talking about now, the body armor, is what I would call a mid-level body armor that can be worn all day. Our department has been blessed because we've received some donations from Angel Armor and things like that. A lot of these vests are expiring or have expired already. So we have officers that have the soft body vest on that a person will wear in uniform, underneath their uniform all day. And then our next option is basically a heavy-duty tactical vest that I've worn for many years, but it's very, very heavy, 10 to 15 pounds, and that's for SWAT or narcotics operations. So these vests are to fill a gap, if you will, a stronger vest that is rifle rated that the officer can wear all day for a shift. And
Okay.
multiple units as well. So it is a need. We are, it's a full-time job, just keeping inventory of the different types of vests that we have. They all expire at different times, and we have donated vests that are in the mix too, so we're trying to get to where we need to be on that.
Yeah, those are some of my questions, like, what's the trigger for us to order the equipment? What's the burn rate?
Yes, ma'am. They have expire dates on each panel, and unfortunately, each manufacturer is different.
Okay.
And a lot of it also is determined by how much the armor is used and if it's in high heat. So we have to be very careful on that.
Okay, and each and every piece of equipment is tracked, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So my request would be that we begin attaching to these things like maybe a running list with the count of our expiring equipment and upcoming replacement date. I guess your quartermaster or somebody keeps track of that,
We will.
correct?
We have a new quartermaster. That's going to be their job right now. Some of the leadership tracks this for each unit.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Move for approval.
All right, second. We have a motion and a second to approve this item. Any discussion, further discussion? All right, seeing none, please cast your vote. All right, passes unanimously. Which now brings us to N1, which is approving a request for variance from the Tarrant County Development Regulations Manual, Hazlet Heights Phase 2 and Precinct 3.
Good afternoon, officially.
Good afternoon.
So this variance request was submitted by the applicant of the Hazlet Heights Edition Phase 2 plat, which is next on the agenda for the court's consideration. So as a quick background, the existing lots that are owned by the applicant are 2.5 acres in size. The proposed lots are 3 acres and 2 acres. So this replat is simply to shift the property line between the two lots. There are no new lots being created by this proposed plat. So apart from this variance request, the plat has been reviewed by our office and meets all other standards of the Development Regulations Manual. And it is requested that the court grant this variance today. And then with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right, any questions for Joseph? All right, seeing none, do we have a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
A motion is second to approve item N1. With no further discussion, please cast your vote. All right, passes unanimously. Next, we go to N2, approval of a final plat, Hazlet Heights Phase 2, Precinct 3.
Staff recommends approval of the final plat.
Move to approve. We have a motion to
Second.
approve. We have a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Passes unanimously. Thank you very much. All right, N3, we're going to discuss an executive and then come back out if we take action. Now we go to board appointments or commission appointments. Do we have any from any of the commissioners?
I do not.
All right, seeing none, no approval of bonds or certificates of self-insurance.
We actually do have.
We do,
one.
that's why it's on there.
Yes, sir. So we have a approval of a certificate of self-insurance for the Chief Deputy Fire Marshal, David Butler, in the amount of $2,500.
Gotcha. Move to approve.
Second.
Motion is second to approve that item. Any discussion? All right, please cast your vote. All right, that one passes unanimously. Now we have a briefing from the retirement system, our annual update. And who's giving that? Ms. Glenn?
She's going to introduce our speaker.
Okay. Oh, let's go back for just a second here. We do have some board appointments. Commissioner Fickus.
Yeah, we have Tarrant County Tax Increment Finance, TIF, Zone Board Representatives. We're appointing Catherine Rotter, actually 4. City of Bedford, TIF number 1. City of Keller, TIF number 2. City of Richland Hills, TIF number 1 for Baker Boulevard, and a reappointment, Catherine Rotter to the town of Trophy Club. That's TIF number 1.
And that was a motion to appoint Catherine Rotter to all of those.
Right.
Second.
Correct.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that? All right, please cast your vote. All right, passes unanimously. Now, Ms. Glenn, moving to item 11.
Yes. Good afternoon.
Good
So
13, I'm sorry.
So we have with us today from TCDRS, Erica Aguirre Vasquez. You'll probably remember her from last year. She does have a new last name, so something's happened since we've seen her last. So we're not asking the court for any action today. This is, again, just the annual report. The plan is to come back to the court at your next meeting, and then we'll be asking you for some decisions at that point, but no decisions today.
Thank you.
Thank you and good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Erica.
Thank you for
Good
having
to see
me.
you again.
Commissioners and Judge, thank you for your time.
Congratulations also.
Thank you. I'm very, very honored. Thank you. In March, I'm still a newlywed, I guess, so thank you. Today, I just wanted to review some really great news. It's usually annually great news when I come to Tarrant County, so these are some of the more favorable presentations. But I wanted to give you a highlight of your numbers and the strength of the plan for 2024. We have grown, as you'll remember from last year. We now serve over 870 employers. Every county in Texas except Motley, my goal is to bring them on board. And we have districts that continue to grow at about 20 per year. So we're looking at 870, about 380,000 members. Our plan as a whole, 89% funded. And right now we have $46 billion in assets that we use to invest with our plan.
Question, that 870, those are active retirees?
Oh, no, 870 employers. So that's a combination
Employers,
of counties and districts. Yes, sir, that we serve. Thank you for asking. Yes. As you may recall, we were established 57 years ago by the Texas legislature, but received no state funding. And our operating costs average about 0.18% of our assets. And we are very proud to be managed by a 9-member board with our board chairwoman here from Tarrant County that we're very happy to have, Ms. Mary Louise Nicholson. Very, very happy with her leadership, as well as Chris Taylor serves on our board. So very well represented from Tarrant County with TCDRS. And as you also recall, we're just a combination of both the best of the defined benefit plan and the defined contribution. Our benefit is based on the employee account balance and the match that the members receive when they become eligible and choose to retire. The monthly benefit is a lifetime payout, and of course the risk is shared among the investment portfolio that we manage, the match that the employer chooses to set at each level and fund, and the member who funds their own account. I always like to include this slide because it is probably the 3 top items that I discuss statewide. And the question that's posed is, how is TCDRS different from other pension systems in Texas and nationwide? And it's this description that answers that question. We are savings-based, so as you know, your members begin saving from when you hire them. And each month, your court and your county is funding the match you're promising them. So that occurs over the course of their career. While that's happening, we are providing you data on an annual basis based on your specific valuation of what you owe each year. And this court is responsibly funding what you owe. In fact, you're funding a little bit more than what's owed. So you're extremely responsible in your funding of this plan. And the local control is why I speak to you, because this court can adjust benefits as you need to meet your workforce needs and budget. A quick average, your employees are very young, with being of an average of 44 years of age and about 11 years of service. Your retirees are equally as young, with about 61 years of age, 20 years of service at retirement, and their average benefits are about $40,000. And this slide is very important because we have Tarrant County, we have Tarrant Appraisal District, we also carry other districts in your area. So for retirees with a zip code in Tarrant County, in 2023, you can see we paid $101 million. And when we pay that out to our retirees, we also study where they're going and where they live. And we find that with our economic impact study, 96% of them are staying in Texas. So this money is going right back to your local neighborhoods. And it's very important to see the impact that your retirees make by staying in their hometowns. When we look at your level of benefits for Tarrant County, employees are depositing 7% of their own income. The match is at 200%, so $2 for every one of their dollars when they reach an eligibility rule and choose to retire. The foundation for retirement means they must have 8 years of service and then consequently hit one of these rules. The first being age 60 and vested, followed by the second rule of 75, meaning when we add their age and years of service, they can retire if that equals to 75. And finally, if they have 30 years of service, and it doesn't have to be consecutive, as long as it adds up to 30, that's the third of 3 rules. They don't need all 3, just one, to proudly decide that they're ready to retire from Tarrant County. And I also wanted to show again a replacement ratio scenario. For the average employee who puts in about 20 years of service, you're looking at replacing 49% of their income in retirement. For someone who stays a little longer with a 30-year career, about 85% at your current benefit levels. That's the 200% match and then 7% that they're saving of their own money. This is a very important image because we like to just give it as an example of a benefit dollar that's paid to a retiree. I mentioned that we don't receive state funding, so when benefits are paid, of the $1, 74 cents is coming from the performance of our portfolio, our investment returns, 15 cents from employer contributions, that's what you pay to fund the match you're promising, and 11 cents from employees' own pockets. Now this is a snapshot, and this is a glimpse of our portfolio. We are diverse across and within asset classes. I am not an investment manager, but if you ever have questions, you're more than welcome to reach out to me, and I'm happy to relay your questions to them directly. The good news is, as we speak, if you were to visit our website, this is public information, you can click on any asset class, and it will immediately show you the history to date, managers, etc., so you can see the performance of each asset class. And I also wanted to show you our total fund returns in blue compared to our benchmarks over the 5, 10, 20, and 30 year. And our 2023, we closed last year at 11.1. Our long-term goal is 7.5. So we were able to make a nice sizable percent of 11.1 above our 7.5 last year. Now looking at your specific costs, currently for 2024, Tarrant County's required rate, what we decide that is due to fund the size of your plan, the level of benefits, is 12.35. However, for the last 7 years, since 2018, Tarrant County has paid an elected rate. They have paid a rate higher than what is owed. That elected rate, 19.50. And it's higher than what you've owed us to create that cushion. And that cushion has allowed for you to pass COLAs very easily for retirees because you pull from the cushion you've created by paying a little bit more than what's due. Well, the good news is your costs went down again because of that cushion and because of our investment returns. Your cost for next year will drop to 11.54. And if this court chooses to keep that elected rate, you're more than welcome to, or you can adjust it. An elected rate can be any percent above the 11.54. You have that ability to make changes, leave it as it is, or any adjustments you'd like to see moving for 2025. As Tina mentioned, no decision today. The decisions aren't due in our office until December 15th. So this court has plenty of time to see what it is they'd like to do if they want to make any changes.
That funded rate,
Yes, sir.
91.5%. Is that Tarrant County's funding?
That is Tarrant County's funded ratio. You are in the 90s, 91.5. Outside rating agencies say you're healthy at 80, so you're extremely healthy at 91.5. And Commissioner, I looked up your history. I was curious, and that's the first time you've been in the 90s. You've always been in the high 80s, and now you've hit that 90 mark, and that's because of that elected rate. You're building that cushion. It's really working for you the longer you keep it in place.
We've been chipping away at that for a long time, trying to approach 100%.
Well, and it's borne fruit. When you look around the state, I mean, and some of the challenges that some of these funds have had, it's because they've not invested on the front end to get there. And so, I mean, Tarrant County's done an incredible job. Y'all have done an incredible job for a long time, Commissioner.
Commissioner Ramirez, you're correct, because the elected rate was set in 2015, and they've held it ever since. And it's just continuing to benefit them over time. And as you continue to keep that in place last year, Judge, that really has worked very well for this county.
What is the average funded ratio for the plan in general?
For TCDRS, we're 89% funded as a system, but most plans are in the 80s, somewhere in the 80s. So speaking of our return, our goal is 7.5 on an annual basis. You'll notice that gray band, that's intentional. We know that we will not hit 7.5 in every year, so we have a risk tolerance of performance plus or minus. And with the exceptions of 08, the subsequent recovery of 09, the great year we had 3 years ago at 22%, you're looking at the plan performing exactly as it's intended within that risk tolerance. It's performing as it should. And as I mentioned, with a 7.5 goal, we're very proud to close last year 11.1. And when that happens, we pass off those gains to our employers, as well as put money in reserves to use when we need them. Speaking of deadlines, we do have the timeline that remains in place. It does not change. December 15th is when we hear from decisions about passing a COLA, if that's what you'd like to do, or adjusting the elected rate, or leaving things just as they are. And so you have plenty of time to consider that, or any information you'd like from my office. It's my responsibility to provide it to Glorimar and Tina and anybody who might need that to get to your desks for consideration. And that brings me to the close. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
All right, any questions? All right, it's a very well-run program. We're fortunate.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Yes, thank you. Okay, announcements or comments from commissioners. Anybody have any announcements or comments they would like to make? All right, seeing none, we now move to public comments. Our first speaker today is Lon Burnham. Following Mr. Burnham is Josh Lucas. Mr. Burnham gone? Okay, Mr. Lucas. Following Mr. Lucas is Doreen Geiger.
My name is Josh Lucas. I rise to express my First Amendment rights. It has recently been brought to my attention that the elected leader of the Republican Party here in Tarrant County, Juan Beau French, has circulated an email to citizens of Tarrant County where members of the GOP naming me as a radical racial activist, questioning the legitimacy of Broadway as a church. Additionally, my title as a community ministries coordinator for Broadway was included, where I worked part-time while studying in seminary at Bright Divinity. Last Tuesday, when I asked Mr. Beau French what he meant by in his email that he sent to the GOP saying that, and I quote, "They should know by now that we will expose them," and if he was acting as an elected party chair when he sent that email, he responded by saying that I was dirging up racial tensions and making them worse. It is significant to say that not only do I work part-time at Broadway, I have attended church there my entire life, and I might add, it has been there for 140 years. I was born and cradle-rolled there and baptized at 11 years old by Dr. Brett Younger, who is now the senior minister at the historical Plymouth Church in Brooklyn, New York, where Abraham Lincoln used to attend and where runaway slaves would pass through in the basement on the Underground Railroad, whose founding pastor, Henry Ward Beecher, fought courageously against slavery and was considered the most famous man in America. Dear white Christian nationalists of Tarrant County, elected party leaders, officials, and otherwise, including the True Texas Project, but not limited to, Jesus was conceived to a minoritized Jewish woman of color out of wedlock under the oppression of the Roman Empire. Jesus was born in a stall. after his family was compelled or coerced to a different town than where they lived, to the benefits of the Roman Empire with the intention of counting them in a census for tax purposes. Jesus Christ had much more in common with baby Zenora than anyone here with white skin who espouses that the duty of their Christianity is to call out other people's so-called sins. Jesus Christ was born a Jew. Jesus Christ was a minoritized person of color under the oppression of the Roman Empire. The Jewish people who had been a history of being enslaved by Egyptians, the Babylonians, then conquered by the Persian Empire, the Greek Empire, and then finally the Roman Empire, who would then incarcerate him. Although he was innocent, the hands he would die in were of the state of Rome. Jesus had much more in common with Anthony Johnson Jr. than anyone here who thinks it's their Christian duty to expose so-called radical racial activists. Mary had to sit at the foot of the cross, powerless, and watch as Jesus died. She has much more in common with Anthony Johnson's mother than anyone here who has never had to suffer the pain of watching their minoritized son, who is a person of color, die at the hands of the state as the life is crushed out of him. I'm the descendant of Americus Millard Lucas, Staff Sergeant in the 1st Armored Tank Division of the U.S. Army, is a decorated World War II veteran buried in Weatherford. My namesake is from Joshua Lemon, who fought in the Union Army. Not only is my First Amendment right to practice my religion and freedom of speech, but it is my duty as a citizen to speak out against injustice. I will not be silenced. I will not be intimidated.
Thank you. Following Ms. Geiger, we have Jacqueline Johnson.
I am speaking for myself, not to represent any group. I have articles for you from Vote Beat Texas and Texas Tribune. The issue of lack of ballot secrecy in Texas has now been covered in major television stations and newspapers across the state. NBC Channel 5 News specifically reported about problems that are possible in Tarrant County due to pre-numbering of ballots. The right to cast a secret ballot in a public election is a core value in the U.S. system of self-governance. Secrecy and privacy in elections guard against coercion and are essential to the integrity in the electoral process. Voters should have the right to cast their ballot freely, safely, and privately through a secret ballot without the fear of coercion or intimidation. However, Tarrant County and Texas have implemented actions that now make it possible for people to find out how you voted. The Texas legislature passed House Bill 5180 in 2023, and Tarrant County Election Board voted to sequentially number all ballots. This has led to some loss of ballot integrity. This is a huge mistake. Our Secretary of State knew our ballot privacy was at risk and did nothing. It was not until Vote Beat Texas and Texas Tribune broke the story in late May that Secretary of State sent a memo to all 254 county election administrators to alert them to this issue. Her solution to just merge data from tiny precincts together will not be a solution. I think the former Texas GOP chair, Michael Rinaldi's precinct, has 1,757 voters in it. So that is not a tiny precinct, and yet his vote was found. Tarrant County and Texas have spent the last several years making it easier to mine voter and ballot data instead of protecting our right to a secret ballot. I had planned today to ask this court to ask the Tarrant County Elections Board to have a called emergency meeting to reverse its decision to sequentially number Tarrant County ballots. Very sadly, I have learned I can't say it right now.
Thank you.
Number
Your time is
ballots
up.
have already been ordered.
All right, Jacqueline Johnson. And then Janelle Johnson.
back here again. Mr. O'Hara, you had my daughter removed from this court last time, but was you wrong? My son's death was in fact ruled a homicide. She was right. You are a killer because you support the sheriff. You owe her an apology. I know you will not give her one because you are arrogant and the lack of humility proved me wrong. Mr. Ramirez, I am your constituent. You have not yet sent condolences to my family for the loss of my son. I'm sure by now you know where we live since you represent the 4th Precinct. My expectation is your request, the full, unredacted video, along with Ms. Simmons. When you review that video, envision your child's face on my son, then ask yourself if you still support the sheriff. Since you think he is doing a wonderful job, your words are hollow. I guess that means you are okay with homicide. We will be watching what you do going forward. It's hard for me to believe this court is okay with Eckerd's retirement. He is just as responsible for these deaths as the sheriff. The ideal thing to do, in my opinion, especially after seeing all the information about how your retirement program works, is that that pension that he's receiving get divided among all his victims. He is guilty of murder as well. My family and I will continue to fight until the dynamics of that jail are changed and there is accountability.
Janelle Johnson.
I know what my mother said about you owing me an apology. I don't want it because you've already exposed who you are as a person and you said it out loud. So this is not even going to be directed to you anymore. But to you, Mr. Ramirez, the fact that I live underneath your precinct and in the same breath that you want to honor the person that is in part of the responsibility of killing, murdering my brother. This is an embarrassment. And like I've been doing since April 21st, has been exposing how Tarrant County has been ran, how they treat the disabled, let alone the mentally disabled. Don't you come knocking on our zip code for your vote. Don't you dare come. Because I don't know, because like I said, everybody's been sleeping comfortably. And I don't know how you're able to utter those words out to honor somebody who left when my brother died. And the fact that he could come up here with his regular clothes and not address us yet about what is happening, it is despicable. And this is so far what Tarrant County is about. And I'm going to keep exposing it. Y'all making my job real easy. 2027 is coming up, Mr. Ramirez.
Next, we have Chanel Johnson.
First things, thank you, Ms. Simmons, for being the only one that truly cares about the inmates, the only one that truly has spoken out and has just really showed that you're not up here just to be a commissioner. You're up here to be here for the people. You're here to fight for us. And I see you, and I really want to thank you for that. As far as for you, Mr. Manning, see here, Manning fights for taxpayers on the local, state, and national level, ensuring that public safety remains a top priority for our elected lawmakers. His family taught him the value of community, respect, honesty, but most importantly, his working class roots taught him that if you want something, you have to work for it. No one will work harder than Manning to create a better future for our children and our community and our country. That's in your bio, Mr. Ramirez. But what have you done since my brother has died? You guys have not watched the video, but you're gonna be the ones voting on what me and my family get, which is ridiculous because we shouldn't be receiving anything. My brother should have not died. But regardless of the fact, you haven't even seen the video. So what are you guys doing? What is your job? What is the point of you being commissioner? I don't understand that. I don't get it. You should be ashamed. You should be embarrassed. Y'all got 30 months. 30 months. Not 36, 30 months. If you want your job, do something. Care.
Next, we have Bishop Kirkland.
Here I go again with my singly rhetorical questions based on the new Colossus, the two Americas, and the preeminent to the Constitution. I had the same Constitution authors, Alexander Hamilton, Benjamin Franklin, James Madison, Thomas Jefferson, who all co-wrote. That same Constitution came to the conclusion that my people are 3/5 of a person and has yet to be ratified. The new Colossus, engraved on the basis, is a permanent reminder of the symbol of the Statue of Liberty. In conclusion, Emma Lazarus wrote, and I quote, "Keep in ancient lands your stooped pumps, cries with silent lips. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, and the wretched refuse the teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, the tempest-tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door," end quote. The preamble to the Constitution said, "We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, and provide for the common defense, promote general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to all of to ourselves and our posterity. Do ordain and establish this Constitution of the United States of America." Mark Twain wrote this amazing piece, "The Two Americas." I do missionary work in West Africa. My first objective to new missionary is to un-Americanize them. I want to teach them not to think of the liberties of our country. In the cases of my Negro missionaries, we practice it all the time, so it is really easy for them. The America, the one that sets its captive free, and one that takes its newly captive freedom away, end quote. I do not want to hear anyone refer to Mr. Anthony Johnson as an inmate Anthony Johnson Jr., nor do I want to hear anyone refer to Ms. Chastity Bonner as inmate Chastity Bonner. They have paid the ultimate price for those of us who are still on the fight. Give them their respects as martyrs for the cause. Give them the respect that Elohim gave them as creator. Refer to Chastity and Anthony as human beings. Dear commissioners and magistrate, we are talking about people. The Animal League rescues the cats and dogs. The Ocean Alliance saves the dolphins, the whales, and the porpoises. The Humane Society of Wildlife, Pets, Horses. What organization saves the Negroes? We cannot get any accountability from the sheriff because you keep writing him checks. And when you people quit writing him checks, he can't be accountable.
Your time is up. Laura Lehman.
Good afternoon. Yes, I am Laura Lehman. Today I express my deep concern about the treatment Janelle Johnson received in this room 2 weeks ago on June 4th. As she has done before, she raised public concerns about her brother's death, requesting the full recording of Anthony Johnson. Interestingly, just 3 days after Ms. Johnson was removed from this podium, regarding her brother's death, was declared a homicide due to asphyxiation. Since last October 3rd, I've been attending these court meetings. On that particular day, I witnessed the county judge and 2 commissioners reject funding for Girls, Inc., a vital organization dedicated to inspiring all Tarrant County girls to be strong, smart, and bold. That decision followed politically charged concerns and frankly vile lies raised by some familiar faces to me, including Judge O'Hare's friend and leader of the Patriot Mobile PAC. The offensive remarks made during public comments had nothing to do with the mission of Girls, Inc., yet those comments led to the organization losing its annual funding. It's troubling to see such stark contrasts in how these two situations were handled. False accusations influenced the denial of funding and the lack of empathy shown to a grieving family member who was forcibly removed from the court while trying to express legitimate concerns. The hypocrisy is glaring. Denying Ms. Johnson her right to speak freely and having her escorted out by officers was unnecessary and unacceptable. Last, I want to thank Judge O'Hare and the commissioners for opening my eyes on October 3rd. That day showed me how crucial each position is in this court to our county and our freedoms. In fact, it inspired my decision to run for the open commissioner seat in Precinct 3. Thank you for the opportunity. Happy Juneteenth.
Read bills.
I agree with others who have urged you to initiate a nationwide search for the replacement of Chief Jailer Eckert. The petition calls for an experienced professional who will work toward improving the conditions in the jail that have led to the high number of deaths. Continuing our current practices is obviously not the solution. Since change is needed, I suggest that the new chief be given full autonomy to conduct his role. If he or she has to answer to the current sheriff, who can override innovation and improvement in the system, we will not get the benefit of new leadership and talent that we need.
Charles bills.
I'm here today again to discuss Carrie Campbell's situation. Apparently he's going to be leaving to a home, but his case is still pending. The DA can't try him yet because he's mentally incompetent, apparently, but he was showing the same mental incompetence when he allegedly committed his crime. And I don't know why the DA expects that his prosecutor is going to successfully convince a jury that during his mental health fit that he was having, that he, in a moment of lucidity, decided to punch one of his caretakers, and then went back to being mentally incompetent again. That saying, even if they decide he is competent, his crime, basically assault, is the maximum is a 1-year jail sentence. Considering the fact that he's a first-time offender and there's no real mitigating factors. He's been in jail 6 months. Why didn't they try to just let him plead guilty, have him time served, and let his nightmare be over? Thank you.
Julie Griffin.
May I please support? May I remember Anthony Johnson Jr. while marking the official manner of his death has been ruled a homicide and cause of death asphyxia. I urge the filing of criminal charges against those responsible for the death of Mr. Johnson. The homicide finding necessitates also the release of the full video capturing the last hours and death of Mr. Johnson. There is no justifiable reason to withhold this footage from the public, as it has been permitted by the family of the deceased. It is documented now. He died at the hands of his jailers. At a very minimum, I call for the release of the video footage for closed viewing by this commissioner's court. If your choice is to shield the sheriff by closing your eyes Instead of fully informing your constituent citizens of Tarrant County on the manner and circumstances of Mr. Johnson's death, how can you stand by that choice, either morally or in the interest of justice? I am grateful to Commissioner Simmons for searching for the truth and urge the rest of you to do the same. I also remember Robert Miller. I find it remarkable how the county in that case shielded the sheriff while depriving the public of justice by canceling an independent autopsy review of a case in which a man with asthma was pepper sprayed at close range in an altercation with jailers shortly before dying. Somehow that circumstance was never deemed relevant to his death, while the official determination of manner of death remains undetermined, and the official cause of death remains sickle cell crisis, so that has been refuted because of the absence of any sickle cell disease in Mr. Miller. It is time for full transparency, full release of information when it comes to any death in the Tarrant County Jail. It is time for the solid brick wall between what happens inside the jail and what is known about it outside to come tumbling down. Every death is now suspicious. May I note that the circumstances and cause of Harold Roberts' death on February 14th is still listed by the medical examiner as pending. This man died, we know not how, within 2 weeks of his return from the state hospital after being deemed incompetent to stand trial, and that after 3 years of languishing in the incompetency system. We need to know how and why he died. We need to know the policies and practices in this jail that lead to so many deaths that are later labeled undetermined, pending, accident, suicide, homicide. Why are there deaths of dehydration? Georgia Baldwin, Abdullahi Muhammad, Edgar Viatora Alvarez. Why are there deaths of fentanyl overdoses months after booking? Russell Qualls, Roderick Johnson in 2024. In the state of Wisconsin, a prison warden and guards and medical staff are being prosecuted in a criminal complaint for the same kinds of deaths of prisoners, dehydration and fentanyl overdoses that Tarrant County Jail has on an apparently much larger scale. Where is the accountability in Tarrant County? Commissioners Court, please demand that the sheriff give you the full video of Anthony Johnson's death. Commissioners Court, please request the investigation of this jail for its practices and record of deaths by the DOJ.
Thank you. Your time is up.
And a national search for
Merle Glasscock.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Please release the full video of Anthony Johnson Jr.'s homicide. And when will the charges for Kyrie Taylor be dropped? Fortunately, finally, Kyrie is now in a state living center. He will never be able to stand trial. Please have the district attorney drop the charges. His being in the jail was inhumane. A nationwide search, I agree, should be conducted to replace Chief Eckert. This is a highly important position. Please do a nationwide search. And what is now being done to get the Garza County for-profit prison inmates back to Tarrant County? That prison is to be shut down in September. September will be here before you know it. Your diligence to these ongoing issues would be greatly appreciated.
Billy Wilson.
Signed up for 2.
And you get 3 minutes.
For the whole thing. Okay.
Please raise the mic, Mr. Wilson.
I am passing out to you, I believe some of you are aware that tomorrow is going to be the the Tarrant County Historical Commission is going to be having our 48 state tour. I did see that some of you had opened up your messages, and so I wanted to talk about that first. In recognition of the 2024 being of the 175th anniversary year of Tarrant County, the Tarrant County Historical Commission and the Lucretia Cochran chapter of Arlington, Texas, of the Daughters of American Revolution are co-hosting an event including numerous area partners. This year, the well-renowned professional videographer Jeremy Lazelle will travel in tandem with Atlas Group at all 48 and film events and make a documentary. Johnson Station, which is part of Arlington, was one of the first settlements in Tarrant County established in 1840 by Sam Houston, requested trading post number 1 at Marrowbone Springs at the Ranger Station. Johnson Station, the cemetery, is one of the oldest burial sites, and his oldest grave is Elizabeth Robinson, who died on November 15th in 1963. All the 48 state tours are free and open to the public. The primary goal of this event is to education and particular focus on reaching any historical and preservation groups and individuals as possible. We appreciate your support for the cleanups that we have done recently at the Ebenezer Cemetery, Reverend Brooks. And we also look forward to working with you at the Como Cemetery cleanup. Thank you for all of your work with that. My other thing that I wanted to discuss was the Sandra Bland Act with my rest of my time. Happy Freedom Month. We celebrate the release of Kyrie Campbell. We mourn the death of Anthony Johnson. In 2016, Texas Governor Greg Abbott signed into law a measure that seeks to address the circumstances led to the death of Sandra Bland, a black woman found dead in the county jail days after being arrested. The Sandra Bland Act mandates that county jails divert people with mental health and substance abuse issues toward treatment, making it easier for defendants to receive personal bond if they have mental illness or intellectual disabilities, and requires that independent enforcement agency investigate jail deaths. We appreciate the work of Mr. Sugar. He helped us to focus on some of the things that we need to do, and he saved this county a lot of money. We regret his loss of his employment, as we do Hyder Garcia. For some reason, people who do great work seem to have philosophical differences with people with no expertise and end up losing their job. We call for decarceration. We call for transparency. We ask that the data that Mr. Wayburn referenced when he said that there are 63% of the people in jail have mental issues, we would like to see that data because we can't seem to be able to get it from the dashboard. And so we'd appreciate if you would show some transparency in complying with that. Compliance is a duty of the county. It would be nice to receive reports from this county about your compliance with the Sandra Bland Act.
Next is Janet Mattern.
Hello, my name is Janet Mattern. I'm speaking for the League of Women Voters of Tarrant County. We are a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization. We empower voters, defend democracy, and have worked for over 100 years to protect voters' rights and fight voter suppression. Texas law mandates that voters' ballots must be secret. No one should be able to figure out how a voter has voted. Secrecy of a voter's ballot and voter privacy in elections are necessary to safeguard against voter intimidation, which is against the law. Since 2020, election laws have changed to appease misinformed election deniers, providing access to election data like voters' poll records has ramifications that now compromises the process to keep ballots cast separate from the voters' identification information. The League of Women Voters of Texas sent a joint letter to the DOJ to investigate this concern and ensure ballot secrecy is protected. Our elections administrator has taken steps per the SOS to redact information that could compromise voter anonymity. This is a stopgap measure. It's labor-intensive and is not a tenable solution. The Secretary of State has not identified a long-term solution. In April, the League stated that we are against use of pre-numbered ballots. This adds bureaucracy increases election cost, and now the Secretary of State recommends to not use pre-numbered ballots due to voter privacy concerns. We are, however, for countywide voting. There have been no complaints filed with the Secretary of State. Before countywide voting, voters that showed up at the wrong polling location were turned away, even if they had voted in that location before. All voters have unanimously expressed how grateful they are for countywide voting. Countywide voting works. I urge you to support decisions our election administrator must make with guidance from the Secretary of State and DOJ to ensure voter privacy is not compromised and ensure voted ballots are kept anonymous. Please protect voter anonymity, protect voter rights, protect our democracy, and protect countywide voting. Thank you.
Next is Jimmy Blackwell.
The main problem with persons who run for public office is once they are elected, they develop a severe case of amnesia. They all of a sudden forget who they represent. They fail to realize who elected them and who they represent. They were not elected to do their party's bidding, nor are they elected to carry out their own agenda, and they are certainly not elected to carry out the desires of their MAGA godfather. They are elected to carry out and represent their constituents in Tarrant County. What's going on in Manhattan has nothing to do with solving the problems facing citizens right here in Tarrant County, and especially here in Fort Worth. Usually when voters' voices are ignored, there's a tendency to say that their concerns fall on deaf ears. Not in this case. The voters' voices are falling on uncaring ears. The voters are speaking loud and clear, but those elected officials doesn't care. They don't care that voters are calling for the immediate release of Mr. Campbell. Out of spite, these elected officials are enjoying having this young man locked away in a dark, dingy, filthy cage like he's an animal. These elected officials seem to get enjoyment from watching others suffer. This is pure evil. Voters have spoken loud and clear that they do not want their tax dollars spent to reopen a case regarding a voting issue that has already been resolved. But again, their voices are falling on uncaring ears. These officials have to prove that voter fraud does exist in Tarrant County so they choose a closed case to prove their point. Truth be told, there is a case of voter fraud in Tarrant County. It's a case committed by a Republican, but there is no investigation. Why? Because it's one of their own. Fact of the matter is, more Republicans commit voter fraud than Democrats. But these same officials turn the other cheek when it's one of their own. Voters have spoken loud and clear that they no longer want their tax dollars spent to fund this ridiculous voter fraud integrity task force. This is ridiculous. Organized by these elected officials who has no integrity themselves. It seems to voters that if you are going to establish an integrity task force, then the organizers should display integrity themselves. Taxpayers know this one truth about this task force. If you combine the integrity of the state...
Your time is up. Thank you.
Of these three officials, they wouldn't cover the tip of the smallest...
All right, so that's all the speakers I have signed up to speak. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to? All right, seeing none, please remain seated and silent while I read the following. The Commissioners' Court will now recess the open session and proceed to closed session to discuss items exempt under Sections 551071, 072, 074, 076, 087, and 0725 of the Texas Government Code. We are now in recess. tiny little hole walls. But how are you, gentlemen? Good. Right, yeah, he could have just knocked it, yep. What? Chandler normally tells us when it's on, what he went to go do, or? There, that must be on.
Candace, are we on?
I'm checking right now.
Yeah, excellent.
That's the cue? All right. All right, we're back from executive session. We did have a discussion about an item in 3, but there's no formal action to take at this time. And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you for watching. Have a good summer. Happy July 4th. Happy Juneteenth.